Hello, everyone. I have given like a million speeches. I don't think I've ever been as nervous to speak in front of a group, but I know I'm among family, so. So anytime I speak or I am in the political sphere as a candidate, as chair of the Shelby County Democratic Party, it's always like my intros always start with 3-time cancer survivor, scientist, immigrant, healthcare advocate, and the cancer part is always what like shocks people because I'm so young, right? And by the time I was 19 years old, I had already had cancer 3 times. And that was my freshman year of college. So it always shocks people and impresses people. And for me, it has been part of my identity, but it really, it has shaped of the things that I care about and the things that I advocate for. Because I grew up in a hospital, right? That was my reality. But I wanted to talk about the one time that I didn't have cancer. That was supposed to be, not having cancer is a good thing, right? But it really was an experience that really shaped me as a person and really brought a lot of questions to my mind and taught me a lot of lessons. So here was senior year of college, and I thought that I had everything going for me. I was working at St. Jude, which is where I was treated for cancer when I was a young child. I grew up admiring so many of the scientists that I work with. They are the reason why I went into science, and I was sitting next to them, contributing to the research that they were doing. I was a biochemistry major at Christian Brothers University. And I felt like I had the world just at my fingertips, and that it was just going to be the greatest. I had the greatest years coming up. I was going to go apply to graduate school and leave Memphis, which I wasn't able to do for college because I had cancer. But this was it, right? Graduate school was it. That was what I was getting out of Memphis. And in February of my senior year, I went to the doctor and I was having a routine ultrasound of my kidneys. It's a result of cancer, but it was just a routine. I had never had a problem. We were just checking to see that everything was working well. And during that ultrasound, the technician found a cyst on my left ovary. And I knew instantly it was bad. I was like, this doesn't happen to me. And she was like, no, you're young, you're 21, 22. Like, the chances that this is a bad thing are very low. Don't worry about it. And I was like, I want to speak to the radiologist now. And she was like, okay, if that will make you feel better, I will go get the radiologist. So I talked to the radiologist, and it was like, I need you to explain to me how you think this got there. Using all the technical terms and everything, right? I was like, I'm a 3-time cancer survivor. I had Ewing sarcoma, H7, L5S1, going through my entire medical history with this poor radiologist. I was like, who are you? And I wasn't satisfied with what he said. So as soon as I got out of there, I emailed my oncologist, who I had access to on email because I worked at St. Jude. So I emailed her and I said, so I went to the doctor, or I was getting this routine ultrasound, and they said I have a cyst and I just don't feel right about that, and I think that I need to see you. And she agreed. She was like, okay, that's weird. Let's set up an appointment. And so I went to go see her. She felt around my stomach, examined me, and then we had come up with a plan. And our plan was that I would get monthly ultrasounds until we determined what this was, and to monitor if it grew, if it got more complex. So I was like, okay, that's a good plan. So every month I would go to get my ultrasound, and I wasn't getting a lot of symptoms, but I just didn't feel right about it. And as we monitored the size and the complexity of the cyst, it became clear that it was probably not a good thing. And as it got bigger, it got more complex. And at one point, she said, "Okay, I think you need to see a gynecologist that specializes in oncology." And I knew the prognosis for people that have ovarian cancer. And then, as if that wasn't enough, because I know the prognosis wasn't the greatest, and this would have been my 4th time to have cancer, she said, "Oh, and it could be a relapse from your previous cancer that was on your hip that just is now manifesting itself in your ovary." And I was like, great. Yeah. I was like, graduate school. I'm supposed to be going to graduate school. I've worked so hard for this internship. So while all of that was going on, the survivor rate for people that relapse with what I had is less than 10%. So for the first time in my life, I was faced with a lot of decisions. And my mom was always very good about letting me make decisions when I was younger about my treatment and stuff. But this time was different. When I went to go see the specialist, I was in an adult oncology world. And I was so used to being like the oldest patient in the room. So you still have the nurses that have like fun scrubs, you get a toy. And I went to the adult oncologist and it was not like that. And just walking into those rooms, because I had to have so many appointments with them, and CT scans and blood work and CA-121 levels and just so much. I couldn't even stand in the waiting room because I was the youngest patient there. And I told my mom, I was like, those people are sick. And I just can't be in that room because it's just messing with me. And so my mom would wait in the waiting room and I would wait outside. And then she would call me when the doctor was ready to see me. And I would go in and try to avoid looking like blinders. So from all the tests that were done, the CT scans and everything, it was determined that I needed to have surgery to get rid of the tumor. And at that point, we were mainly in a plan of, let's just identify what type of cancer it is because we know it's cancer, because Gabby gets cancer. That's what my body does. And I think for the first time in my life, I was really faced with my own mortality. Before, I never thought that I would die from cancer. I was like, no, I got this. Give me the chemo, give me the radiation, I got shit to do. But for the first time, I felt tired. I felt tired of doing this so many times. And I knew that if it was cancer, that I probably didn't want to do treatment. And I wasn't sure what decisions I was going to make, or, because, I wanted to go to graduate school. So we scheduled the surgery, and the pathology report came back, and it was a borderline tumor that was not cancerous. It was a semi-malignant neoplasm. So I didn't need to do any chemotherapy or anything. And that was great, but I still felt it took me a long time to recover from surgery and to go back to work and to be kind of in the land of the living. Because I had just faced these huge, big life decisions, right? So I learned some lessons that I want to share. Cancer does not happen in a vacuum. A lot of people that are going through health challenges have lives. They have children, or they may be kids themselves. This doesn't happen in a vacuum, right? For me, at that time, I remember one of my professors pulled me in and said, "You need to apply to graduate school. You're never going to do it." At the same time where I was dealing with all of this stuff, and I said, "I just can't right now." So it doesn't happen in a vacuum. Lesson number 2, no one knows your body like you do, and always listen to yourself. Because I wasn't having symptoms, had I just written it off as, oh yeah, this is normal, like 21 and 22-year-olds get cysts all the time, it could have ended differently for me. So always listen to your body, no matter what a radiologist tells you. And then sometimes good things can come from terrible situations. Because I stayed in Memphis and I continued to work in the lab that I was in, I got put on the top project in my lab and started working in malaria drug discovery research. That project went on to be published, and the findings from that project went on to be published in the National Academy of Sciences, and that drug is in phase 2 clinical trials now. And I wouldn't have gotten to have that opportunity had I not stayed in Memphis because of my body. And sometimes a cancer scare can shake you more than cancer itself. And no one can define how impactful a life experience is for somebody else. Because for me, and for people seeing, oh, Gabby had cancer 3 times, sounds more impressive than, oh, Gabby had a cancer scare. And so we never know how one experience is impacting someone. And my final lesson that I think is important, especially now, I have made very difficult medical decisions. And I know that no judge, no politician, no ban belongs in your personal medical decisions.